Welcome to another episode of LIXIL Facets of Design. This is a podcast brought to you by LIXIL Global Design. I'm your host, Paul Flowers. I'm the Chief Design and Brand Identity Officer for LIXIL. It's really exciting to be here. We're actually, as always, filming live, and we're on location today. We're in Miami, actually, at the World Architecture Festival. So as always, you may hear some noise, some hustle and bustle, but we're really at big events. So this is really taking place live, like I said. So if there's any noise, please just bear with us. We're really excited, of course, because this is the first time the World Architecture Festival has come to America, and Grower are the founding sponsors. So they've had a relationship with WAF since 2008. We're incredibly proud of that partnership. And we're really excited today, not only to be in the US, not only launching new products here, etc., but I'm really excited to welcome our guest, Sanjay Puri, with us. Welcome, Sanjay. And we're really excited. Sanjay's a very famous architect, doing lots of work. And we're gonna look through his journey, as we always do, from how he got inspired to move into creativity and how that's taken him into his very fortunate and very successful position today. So, Sanjay, welcome. Maybe you could just explain who you are.
Hi. So I'm Sanjay Puri, Principal Architect of Sanjay Puri Architects. I run a practice out of Mumbai, India. And currently we're doing work largely in India in about 55 cities right now.
Wow. Okay. Now, look, I obviously I've known you, I think, through WAF more than a decade now. But I think it'd be really nice to share with our viewers and our listeners, if you could just take us through what initially got you into creativity. What was that spark that really took you into this direction?
I was very good at art, and I had it in my mind to be an artist. Then, at the age of 16, I happened to read the book Fountainhead by Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
And that, it struck a different chord altogether. It's like, how every line has to have a meaning, and then it becomes like you inhabit art rather than art just being on a wall. So that book kind of really put architecture together in a beautiful way. And at the end of the book, I was like, I have to be an architect, and there's nothing else.
So it was really clear to you.
Yeah.
And obviously having that, I guess, interest in not just creativity and art, but also I know you're quite good at biology as well, weren't you? Has that been a help, or how did you choose that direction? Because I also know, obviously, it's on your mother's side, I believe, that there's doctors in the family.
Yeah.
So how did you steer away? Because normally families want to steer us away from creativity.
I know.
What got you into that?
So my father is an engineer.
Yeah.
And my mother's side, the entire family, like her sisters, my first cousins, like every first cousin of mine is a doctor. Okay? And mom's side, everybody is a doctor.
My goodness.
Including my grandmother, grandfather.
Wow.
All of them. And I was good at bio, and they just assumed that, oh, you're a natural, you're good at bio, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a great doctor. And I was fed that all through, I don't know from when, 5th standard, 6th standard, 7th standard. And I said, man, no, I am not going to do so much studying.
So you rebelled against the family profession, I guess.
No, but I loved art.
Yeah.
So I was just going to be an artist until I read the book.
And what did your education look like? Because on Facets of Design, what we like to do as well, just to explain, also for young designers that are looking for a creative education, would like to maybe move in, what advice would you give them? And what did your schooling look like? What did you study, and how did you get into college to study architecture?
It was a slightly different story than most, where I finished 12th standard, and after which you apply for architecture.
Yeah.
But before applying for architecture, I wanted to actually see, is architecture really like that book or is it not? So I asked my father, do you know any architects? I want to work with an architect. So he put me to somebody else. That somebody else put me to a new architect who had just started practice. And I started working with that firm. I was the 5th person in that office, number 5. And, I worked there for 3 months prior to joining College of Architecture.
Yeah.
So that's like I had been to sites, interior sites, civil construction sites, done working drawings, done everything imaginable, talking to clients, convincing them, even all of that, prior to having joined College of Architecture. So, it set that whole thing. So you really understood what the subject was about, and it was kind of everything I dreamed about.
Yeah. So you weren't disappointed. That
No.
was great. But it's really interesting because, like, I know that the course that I studied for industrial design, they had 2 placements in industry, and I'm a big advocate of that. You know, young designers getting as much experience as they can because you learn from obviously from your peers, but being around experienced practitioners, you can learn so much. And I don't know why it seems to be we have these kind of barriers in place that people believe I can't do those things like you've just said until I've graduated from architecture. But
Exactly.
you really did that early on, didn't you?
Yes, and I think that makes it makes so much of a difference that is unimaginable.
Yeah.
Because let's say now I saw students around me, okay, so they were like just totally psyched out. They didn't understand what solid geometry is about. They didn't understand that if you're given these 4 lines in plan, when they translate to these 4 lines in elevation, how do you understand what this object is in 3D? And for me, because I had already worked, so I was like, it was one glance and you knew what it was.
Yeah.
It was that simple. And it's the same thing that translated all through. So every time you got a college studio class to do, let's say to design a school or design a house or to design a hotel, it was like, okay, I've been to site, and it all came naturally simply because I was working from day one prior to joining college.
Yeah.
So the practical knowledge is so much more greater than what you learn in a classroom.
Yeah. I don't think we can stress that enough on this podcast. There's a couple of things. I think it's that practical hands-on experience, like you say, but there also seems to be another thread from all the guests that we've had on Facets of Design. There seems to be another one, which is their work ethic. Now I know from talking to you in the past as well that when you studied, you didn't just study. You worked 7 days a week.
Yes.
And you went onto site and you went and spoke to people and you went to understand how things were made. And maybe you could just share a little bit about that, because I think it's quite unique. Most people study and they think, okay, that's a Monday to Friday kind of job, but you were 7 days a week. Maybe you could share that.
Yeah, so okay. So we used to have college from 7:30 a.m. in the morning till 1. And then after that, I went straight to office to work. Office finished at about 9 p.m., 9:30, 10 p.m. And then you come back home and then you do your studio work. So it was literally every night, late nights. And somewhere down, I was in second year of college. And a cousin asked me that, I saw your drawings. They're quite amazing. Can you actually do this stuff, or is it just, it's just theoretical? I said, no, I can actually do it. And the reason I said I can actually do it is because I was working in an office. So she said, okay, will you design a bathroom for me? I said, yes, I will. She said, will you get it all organized? I said, yes, I will. Because I knew contractors, I knew people.
Wow.
So that was actually the first project. And then that one project led me to a company that wanted to make an office. So by the time I finished second year of college, I had already done projects on my own.
That's
So
incredible.
that's like hands-on experience. And there was another learning point here where these guys who wanted me to do that office interior said that, we don't believe in architects separate, contractors separate. This is the budget. We say you do the project and you deal with all of it. So which means I had to go to plywood shops to buy plywood and to hardware. So I literally understood everything from the brass and from the smallest little thing. I sat and worked with the carpenters. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to say, do this, but if you don't understand the detail, how are you going to tell them to do it?
That's amazing going into that level of detail. And also, I think with everything you learn, it has an effect on another facet, if you like, of your project, of your work, because you pick up those skills. And I wanted to ask you about that because I know you're very good at sketching and drawing, and we're big advocates of sketching in our global design team because it's such an easy way to express and bring everybody together your thoughts. How important in your practice today is sketching?
I think it's the most important thing. So let's put it this way. When you are doing a drawing and the project is a little large, okay, so the floor plan is obviously a little large. And if you are not seeing it on a paper, and let's say you want to see the plan and the section and the elevation all together and decide something, whatever it is, that how is this change in plan going to affect this or going to affect that. You
Yeah.
want to see all of this together. How are you going to see it on a computer screen? Because the screen, even if you buy the biggest one, is only about this much.
Yeah.
And in this much, you're just panning the drawing. So it's a very simple thing. You're never getting the complete picture,
Yeah.
right? You're looking at one part in isolation, then you move it, you look at another part. How do you get to see the whole thing? But in a drawing, you get to see the whole thing. So sketching is so fast and so well informed because you've got everything around you. I think it's a huge difference. There is no software as of now, or whatever software skills, software
AI,
program
yeah, none of
that
that.
can equal the power of a sketch
Yeah.
and the speed of a sketch
Yeah.
for design.
And it's the adaptability, isn't it? As you're doing it, you just instant changes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? So lots of people we've had on have worked for different companies and stuff. But again, I think your career was quite unique because you literally left college, and then obviously you were working in that smaller practice. You had that experience anyway throughout being
Yes.
at college. But then you start up your own practice. When did you actually found your architectural practice?
Okay, so I finished college.
Yeah.
And the day I finished college, okay, and not even that the exam results were out. I could have failed. But
You were
the
confident.
architect I was working with said, Sanjay, you finished college, right? As of today? I say, yeah, that was my last exam. So he looks at his manager and says, Sanjay is an associate from today.
Wow.
You just imagine, I'm seeing people working, studying for 5 years, coming to my office, they don't know anything.
Yeah.
Anything. And here I was, fifth year student, not even got the results and made associate of the firm.
Wow, that's incredible, isn't it?
So I worked as an associate for 4.5 years after the 5 years of college and working, and then started my own practice in 92.
92. Wow. And your practice now, how big is the practice?
We're about 111 people now.
Wow, 111. Because I thought it was 80 for some reason, but now it's just expanding, getting bigger and bigger. It's incredible. And what kind of disciplines? Interior, exterior architecture?
So we're actually doing all kinds of typologies right now. Largely it's residential of varying scales from townships down to a house.
Okay.
So we're doing schools and colleges and institutes and campuses. We're doing hotels, the resort hotel and the business hotel, so all kinds of hotels. And we're doing offices, right from the small single company office to a larger campus of offices. So generally it's almost everything. We haven't done a hospital yet. I'm really dying to do one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I want to do a hospital that lives and breathes and
Yeah.
a hospital is a building that is actually supposed to heal you, right?
Yeah.
So it does heal you, but the atmosphere doesn't heal you.
Yeah.
At least I haven't been to a hospital like that.
Yeah.
So I want to make a hospital like that you enter and you feel like, oh my God, wow.
Yeah.
Landscape is the first thing you see. Sunlight you see everywhere. And it's like a living, breathing building.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. Actually, I know Victorian architecture. The hospitals, they use much bigger windows because they realised there were healing properties from the sun, stuff, and it took away germs, I guess, and those things. So a hospital is actually a really interesting building. Now I remember you designed a school, which I found fascinating because I know it was quite tight, the budget for that project you had, but you found the way to create a natural airflow, if I remember. So they didn't have to have air conditioning to reduce the costs. Maybe you could
Yes.
share a little bit about that project, because I found
Okay.
that fascinating. Also, just the way it looked.
Are you talking about the Red School?
Yes.
Okay, so this was a school that, you look at, there's a lot of learning and unlearning and everything. So you've looked at schools and you've experienced schools over a period of time and you think back saying, okay, the classrooms work like that. Okay, you go to the cafeteria like this, you go like that. And so that's the learning. And then you say, I don't want to do any of that. Let's look at it in a different way.
Yeah.
How do you totally transform it? So firstly, most schools are structured boxes. So the first thing we said is we're not going to make a box. We're going to open up the whole school. And the classrooms are not going to be angled also in the same way. So you split the whole classroom up like this organically. You split up the other part. It's a secondary school, primary school. And then both are linked with this whole open, huge pergola kind of system, which are sun breakers. And that became the focal point of the school. So children are studying there, they're playing there. I mean, they're doing literally everything there.
Well, it's quite a fresh approach as
Yeah.
well, isn't it? Like, I mean, that kind of leads on nicely to what I want to ask you about your practice, because I've seen in quite a lot of your work you've managed to replace some of those artificial things, like we said, air conditioning and things, by utilizing what nature provides.
Yes.
How important is sustainability for your firm, and how do you bring sustainability into the culture of the firm?
So, with sustainability, it's like this that, few years back, nobody spoke about it.
Yeah.
But then, when you look back at traditional architecture, it was a lot more sustainable than what people are even doing now. People are talking sustainability and yet not making it sustainable as it could have been. I mean, the old palaces, for example, in India, you have arcades. You would think like, okay, you never questioned it. But now you realize that in those arcades, you can walk when it's 42 degrees outside and this sheltered space is absolutely cool.
Yeah.
And then there's a courtyard that actually transforms the entire space, and in the summer it's cooler, in the winter it's warmer. So that again is something traditional. The use of stone, the use of orientation, like how you orient a building is so important. So we right now did this very, very interesting. In fact, it's our favorite project till date. It's a small community center, which is just 9,000 square feet,
Okay.
in the middle of a village in Rajasthan, and it's built completely in stone. It has a green roof. It's got earthworms on the south, east, and the west. That building, at where it's 42 degrees outside, this building does not require air conditioning.
No
It's
way.
unbelievable. If somebody had told me, I would have said, no, that's not possible.
Yeah.
But I went there, and it took me 5 minutes to realize that, oh, the air conditioning is not on. And these guys, all these children are sitting there, they're studying, and
Wow, that's incredible, isn't it? And obviously, like you say, it's like sustainability. There are lots of facets of sustainability as well, but it's also about, a good thing is about how you source materials. And I know you use a
Yes.
lot of sourcing of local materials.
yes, wherever
How
possible.
important is that into your process?
No, it's very important, because the first thing you look at when you're doing a project is like, what do I have that's available here?
Yeah.
And the first question I ask a client also, like let's say it's a new city where we not worked before, said, is there any stone that's locally available here?
Yeah.
So then they have to think. Then we said, please find out and let us know.
Yeah.
And then we do our own R&D and find, okay, no, this place has this stone.
And then you can utilize
Yeah,
that.
we're doing a
locally.
lot of work in Rajasthan right now. So there is stone in abundance. I mean, you can't even believe. So right now we're doing a temple, which is a very tiny temple sitting on top of a hill, and we're restoring it and creating a whole community center below the temple like this, along the hill contours. So we're not cutting the hill, we're not filling, we're building on the existing contours. And we've told the clients that we're not going to use any RCC, so we're just going to use minimal steel beams and stone slabs, because the stone is literally free there.
Yeah.
If I tell you, you'll be shocked. For 4 euros, which is the price of a coffee here,
Yeah.
you get a stone slab which is 6 feet high, 12 inches wide, and 3 inches thick.
You're kidding.
The cost of a coffee,
That's
a 6
incredible.
foot stone slab. That's how cheap and how easily available it is. So we're building the whole building in stone, no
My
concrete.
Goodness, that's incredible, isn't it? When you have access to those kind of materials in abundance, you've got to use them, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's not there everywhere, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Like if you're building in a city like Bombay, there's nothing that's local.
Yeah. And it's not going to cost $4 there, I'm pretty sure.
So
No, that's amazing. And obviously, how do you divide, or what's the makeup of your practice? Do you have an interior design department separate to external architecture and engineering? How does that work?
okay, so we have currently 11 teams, each led by an associate, and 2 of those teams do interior design only, and the balance 9 teams are doing architectural work.
Right. Okay. So you separate out in that way. That's quite interesting when you were saying earlier that your first project, ironically, was a bathroom.
Yes.
So which fits in nicely, of course, with the brands that we're working with. So that's really interesting. So obviously now you've been to university. We've discussed your work ethic. That's really important. We've discussed how important it is for you to have very much a hands-on approach, dealing with suppliers and doing all those things yourself. What advice would you give to young architects moving into this space? What would you say you've learned would be the absolute key piece of advice you could give them to make them successful?
I think it's experience.
Yeah.
What I find in today's generation of young architects or those who have just graduated, whatever, they don't have the patience to go through a few years of experience. They think that, okay, 1 year I learnt it, and I got this thing that I worked in this firm and this is my pedigree and I'm sorted.
Yeah.
Okay, or they'll jump firm to firm saying that, okay, I worked 1 year here, so I want to jump at a 50% higher scale and jump and jump. So basically, when you're jumping every 1 or 2 years, you're not really learning anything, because architectural projects take 6 months to 1 year to just start construction. How can you leave in a year?
Yeah.
You have to go through the process of at least a few projects to see it from inception, from the first sketch to the built, finished project. And that's definitely not going to happen in less than 2 or 3 years.
Designers tend to, creatives, like you say, an architect, they tend to, I certainly did at the beginning of my career. I think the longest job I had was 3 years. And I jumped on. And, I've been with LIXIL and Grower for 20 years now. And I think you're right. It's only when you're with a company, you really get into the depth of every element of the process.
Yes.
And you can really start to have a fingerprint and touch all of those elements of experience that consumers have on the journeys. But you need to be a certain time to really understand the culture of the organization to be able to affect the culture of the organization.
Yes.
It's not something we often hear, but having that longer relationship with a firm, I think you can constantly, it's not that it's boring, you're constantly learning new things.
Let's say even if it is your bad luck and you chose to be in a firm that's not doing some great work architecturally, yet the process is important.
Yeah.
So at least you understand that this is the process, this is how it goes through. Your design is your design. So whenever you come to that age that you've got the experience, you can design the way you want. But you need to have that experience in a firm for a period of time. That's one aspect.
Yeah.
The other thing is the experience of real buildings. Today people are scrolling social media and they think they've seen it. Okay, I saw that building, I saw that building. What have we seen? You cannot see a building on a 2.5-inch wide screen.
No.
Come on.
Yeah.
Your naked eye cannot see a building like that. When you stand in front of a building and you have to actually span to be able to see the whole building in entirety. When you walk into a space, there is a certain feeling of that space, like the space we are in right now. So until you experience that, you don't understand what a building is. A building is not just that one little visual that you saw.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think there's, we often talk about this, but it's, digital tools, in the digital world, of course, it's incredibly powerful. They're incredible tools, but there's a physicality, I think, to everything you do. It's why we come to things like the World Architecture Festival, interface with architects, and we gain real insights into mixing with different people and understanding their projects. And like you say, and having an exhibition like I have behind me where consumers can come and architects can come and touch and feel your product, listen and the quality and the tactility and the audio feedback from buttons and all those things are very physical.
That's the whole thing. So until you're in a space, you don't know whether the circulation works or not. What is that space focused towards?
Yeah.
Is it something good or is it not? Is natural light entering in a nice way or not? So all of that you will only experience when you physically go into that building.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not going to see you're not going to see it on a phone.
Yeah, you're right, and it's true. It is the way the light hits that. It can be completely different, day to night, AM to PM, and it's there's so many elements to those things that affect. It's also about I think if you're doing things in a cityscape as well, it's about how do they plug into that environment. You have to understand the culture of the building. And I know you use this word a lot, but the context. I know in your designs, context is important, right? Maybe you could just talk a little bit about that. How do you make sure you understand the context that do you really spend time going on site even before you start the project?
Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah.
You need to go on site because you need to just stand there and for a moment visualize what all is happening around you, How did you find? How did you arrive there? What's the route you took? So how is your building going to be perceived? From which direction are people going to come? And so which way should it orient itself?
Yeah.
Where is the sun? Of course, that shows on a Google map also. But where is the sun? Where is the wind? How you take cognizance of all of that? How you understand what are the functions that this building has to have?
Yeah.
How have these functions been solved in buildings prior to what you are going to do? Can you do it the same way, or can you put a twist to it and make it something different? Because if you're going to do the same thing that's what's been done before, then there's no point, right?
Yeah.
Architecture is art.
Yeah.
I mean, no building has to be the same. No art is the same.
Yeah.
So it's like that. It's one of the only things that you could be doing something different every day of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah,
Something
so
different every
special,
day of
isn't
your
it?
life.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean,
So
what a
why not
pleasure.
do it?
Yeah.
Why repeat?
We talk about this a lot, but it's if people are out there thinking about a creative career, because it seems to be education is pulling people away from some of these creative careers. But I'm a big advocate to say that a creative career is such a blessing, because you get to create something every single day. And obviously, we at LIXIL we create products that 1 billion people use every single day.
Yeah.
Literally, we can affect 1 billion people every
That's a
single
different
day.
kind of satisfaction.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a huge responsibility as well, of course, but it's such an honor to be able to, to know that what you do can have that effect. And it's kind of poetic as well, I think. I think with your work ethic, what would you say is, other than, of course, the hard work, the hands-on experience and stuff, what would you say in your practice is the kind of architectural style? Would you consider yourself contemporary? Would you say you're more classical?
Okay, classical is a definite no-no.
Yeah.
And we've actually refused clients who've said that
That's
they want something classical. I said there was a time for it, and it's not the time anymore. Somebody came to us recently also and said, I want my house built exactly like this palace. We said, no, we won't do it. Because that palace belonged to a certain time.
Yeah.
The materials were of that time. The whole construction technique was of that time. And today is totally different. So why would you go and repeat something which has no meaning in today's time?
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes a long time to convince somebody. Sometimes it's very easy to convince. And sometimes the person doesn't get convinced.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when he doesn't get convinced, then you finally leave it.
Yeah.
You try your best, but then you leave it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's contemporary or it's anything. It's just, it's contextual with a twist.
Yeah.
In the sense, you want to be contextual, but you don't want to do what has been done before. So you do it in an interesting kind of way. A little more sculptural, a little more interesting. The spaces inside should be interesting, which you've not experienced. Likewise, from the outside, it should reflect that that's something that is different and something that's a little unique.
Yeah, I've seen. I mean, obviously, in your work, you can really see they're not monolithic structures. There's a humanity to your work. There's almost like a character to lots of the things. How do you bring that about in your work? How do you get that character? What sets that character in projects?
I don't know. It's probably a series of things. It's like I said. You go back, you see. Okay, I went to that hotel. I went to that hotel. I went to that hotel. But this is your brief. So you're looking at the brief, the site, and how many rooms and how many other functions this particular client wants to have. What can you add to it?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to take the brief exactly as the brief and put it there. You say let's twist it a bit. Let's make it more interesting. And then at the same time, you're thinking constantly of things that you've seen.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do that. But there are certain aspects that you may want to do, which are great. Like, for example, I can't get over this thing that once I walked into a bathroom and there was no wall and there was no window and it was just plants outside.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, what a feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Complete transformative,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of biophilic design and bringing nature into things, because you're right, it really transforms that relationship that you have. This week we've just launched at WAF, and in New York we launched a collaboration with Grower Spa, one of our premium brands, and Buster and Punch. And the reason why we had that collaboration was really because it was an insight actually from architects to say it's really difficult, and architects spend so much time specifying all these individual components. And what they really want to do is create a holistic environment where all the color, material, and finishes are perfectly aligned. And they spend so much time and obsess to get that alignment. So we partnered up, we've collaborated with Buster and Punch to ensure there are a range of finishes that match 100% to make it easier for architects.
Yeah, I
and
saw it
designers.
here. It's amazing.
Yeah, we're really excited. So we're really excited to share. But it's exactly what you say, though. It's about bringing all those things together to create that harmony.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it almost feels like there's a permanence and these things have always belonged and they've been there. And yet they can be the most contemporary things. And yet they feel familiar in a way because you feel relaxed because somehow they make sense
Yes.
altogether. It's like a well-orchestrated band, I guess.
Exactly.
Somehow it works together very well.
That's well put.
So what would you say in the last 10 years, the last decade, have been the biggest challenges having your own practice?
The biggest challenge I find is only convincing clients to go a different route than the beaten path.
Yeah.
That's the only challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, there are more challenges in that. Once you've overcome that challenge, then the challenge is to find the consultants who are able to carry that vision forward.
Yeah.
And then finally, the contracting teams also who can actually execute it to perfection, because every time we come up with this thing that haven't done this before.
Yeah.
How do we do it? So you got to literally take people through that whole thing. You spend a lot more time, but then the result eventually is worth it.
Yeah. It's worth the push. Now, I'm going to ask you a question because I don't get a chance to say this because I can say it because you've done both. But obviously, we're at the World Architecture Festival. It's an incredible event. And I know you're often a judge each year, but also you've won awards here. So what do you prefer? Do you prefer judging or winning awards? What's a bigger honor?
Well, I think that's very difficult to say. You know, winning an award is like kind of fortifies your thing that the way you thought was correct. It's not about, like, hey, I won this award.
Yeah.
But it's more about like, that means I did it right?
Yeah.
There was a process which these judges understood.
Yeah,
And that is why I'm getting this award. So I did do the correct thing.
Yeah.
That's A. As a jury member on the other side, it's really great. Like, you are jury at such a high level with high level entries coming from all across. And it's your responsibility to pick that one correct project that like literally marries everything together in a perfect combination of function, form, and something that is unique.
Yeah.
So
It's really hard,
equally
isn't it?
important.
Yeah. It's really hard. It's exhausting being a judge, actually.
It is.
isn't
It is.
Why we set up this podcast really is because we're looking at design community. We have a number of things now that we're creating LIXIL Global Design. Everything from Pinterest site, so architects can use that resource for their boards. So we're kind of propagating our boards with some really interesting stuff, materials, finishes, different things. We have the podcast, of course. We have our Instagram account, but all of these things we're trying to create this sense of design community because we feel like there's a vacuum. And I think the more designers can help each other and support creatives coming through, I feel like the world more than ever needs creatives. We've got big problems, big challenges, and we need creative people to solve those. And how did your firm, how do you mentor and let's say young architects and designers? How do you mentor them and how do you ensure and what advice would you give to them moving into this direction?
A lot of times I've been asked, like, why are you not teaching in a college?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're doing work in so many different places, there's so much travel, it's very difficult to allocate those 2 days or 3 days or whatever it is at a particular time. So that means like you've literally cut half the freedom of your days,
Yeah.
In a sense that, okay, no, Tuesday and Thursday I got to be here, I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
So as opposed to that, what I've started now is something called the Dialogues Design Directory, where I've done little lectures showing people how to sketch, showing the process behind a building. And it's not just me, all friends, good people, good architects, we've got them also, interviewed them also. So we made these little education lessons.
Wow.
Sometimes it's just a project.
Like master classes.
Yeah, it's like a master class.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a project which is explained, or sometimes it's just the importance of light, the importance of sketching, various things. So, and this is all there on YouTube, and it's all free. And so we've got a
And we
lot
can
of
find the
students,
links on your
lot of
Instagram
students
account.
and young people watching
Wow,
it.
that's amazing. So I guess that really is, again, design community. You're really giving out those things to amplify even more than you could if you just taught at one university. Now you can
Yes.
amplify that.
Yes.
What's a project that you're working on right now or just finished that you're most excited about?
So there is this one university building which we won in competition. It was very radically different at that time, 7 years ago. It's taken 7 years to finish.
7
Because the clients were slow and slow, but finally it has come to fruition, and it's very, very unique. We're going to photograph it in the next couple of months, so it will be open to public very soon. It's already in use.
Yeah.
There are students and working. So
Oh, wow,
the
okay.
building is literally like it's a 80,000 square feet floor plate, 4 levels, and the building diagonally moves up in a square from 0 to the topmost point, which is at 24 meters.
Wow.
And the entire building is terraced. So the idea was that this building acts as an open auditorium, the whole roof, for the entire campus, which is going to have 5,000 students eventually. So you can literally step up from 0 and keep climbing, sit at this platform, sit at that platform. The entire terrace is landscape. The building by itself, because the footprint is 80,000 square feet, it has courtyards of different sizes punctuating it in different places. So as opposed to, the normal building, which has been there is there all over Europe, is there all over India. You have a courtyard building, which is basically a square or a rectangle,
Yeah.
okay, and it's punctuated with one courtyard.
Yes.
Now, in that courtyard, whether you are on the northeast side or the southwest side or whatever in the center, the feeling of space and perspective is virtually the same, right?
Yeah.
Here, because you have a courtyard which is 9 by 9 meters, then you have a courtyard which is 12 by 12 meters. Now, the 9 by 9 goes up to a height of only 7 meters. The 12 by 12 goes up to a higher height. So, because the building is sloped, every courtyard has a different height. Every courtyard has a different height. There are no two courtyards with the same height. Every courtyard is a different grid. So, wherever you are, the perception of space, of open to enclosed, of natural light coming in is completely different. So, every part gets an individual identity. We're very happy with the project.
Must be
And
so
it's just
complex.
Waiting. It was very complex.
I mean, I mean,
We had,
obviously,
like,
how do you get that?
hundreds of drawings.
Really?
The structural guys went mad, but I must give credit to them because they did an amazing job.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, it's like because there's a twist. It's not just a square that is sloped in one direction.
Yeah.
It's a diagonal slope. So it's a diamond. This part goes up. So it's very complicated.
Wow. Okay.
For every service to go through is very complicated.
And does it have a name, this building, or
It's called the Prestige University.
Prestige University? Okay. And where is that based? Is that Mumbai?
It's in Indore, in
Oh,
India.
Indore. Okay.
So it's a 36-acre campus, out of which this is the first building.
Wow. Okay.
And then there are student hostels which are under construction at the back. And there's going to be some more educational facilities which will be made later on.
Okay.
But this one is ready now.
Wow. Okay. So I guess it's going to be entered, I guess, to the World Architecture Festival next year.
Next
Perhaps.
year.
Yeah. Be interesting. Yeah, interesting to see how that comes on. So that's one of I guess that's your most recent building, but it's one that I guess you're particularly connected to. And are you very hands-on the projects? Are you really on every single project across your firm?
Yes.
Yeah. I can imagine you're very
Definitely.
much
No,
involved in
you-
everything.
You know, because you're so concerned with the detail of
Yeah.
everything, you don't want to just let it go, and you want to see it at least.
Yes, that kind of
No.
ownership, isn't it,
Yeah.
that you love. What we look at here is how can we inspire young architects, designers, and they see, like with your career, like with many designers actually, that almost there was pressure in one way or another, or an expectancy to maybe not be a creative, maybe be a doctor or do something else. But somehow you persevered, and of course that's led you to be incredibly successful and have your own practice. And working on these incredible projects now. Like you said before, you sometimes turn work down that doesn't fit, I guess, your philosophy. And that's really difficult and very bold, I guess, for many people to do, to actually say no. I always think sometimes it's about what you don't do. It's not just about what you do. And I think having the courage to turn those kind of projects down, I think keeps a clarity and a consistency, I guess, to your work.
Yeah, because you want to do finally what you believe in.
Yeah.
That's most important. I can understand people saying that, okay, yeah, today, you can afford to turn down jobs, but I did it when I had an office of 4 people.
Yeah.
There was this guy who came to me and said, Sanjay, love your work. I want to make a White House. So I'm like, what do you mean White House? He said, the White House. I want a house like a White House. Like, I said, you mean that colonial style of White House? He said, yeah, I want exactly that. For a holiday house. I said, no, I won't do it.
Yeah.
He couldn't believe it. He said, this guy, he's like this kid architect. He has this thing to say no to me.
Yeah.
And this guy was a big guy, okay? He was a big jeweler in India.
Oh, really?
And he said, you're actually saying no to me? I said, yeah, I'm saying no to you.
Yeah.
If you want to build something that looks more natural, because you're building in the hills,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
But not this.
But I guess that authenticity to your work, like you say in the beginning, it's really hard, but that's what eventually people come for.
Yeah.
So I guess that might be one of the secrets to your success as well, about having that conviction and being so consistent that when people really understand what you stand for, that elevates you into a position now where you can really choose,
Yes.
and you can probably turn down as much work as you actually choose to do, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a nice position
thankfully,
to be
yes.
in, right?
Now you can.
I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
So here we go, profile. So what does good design mean to you in the context of architecture or interior design? And what is its role on a societal level? And how does it impact the everyday experience of the user? So what does good design mean to
design
you?
is something that, to me, responds to climate, location, functional aspects, and yet does something dramatically different without disturbing the functional aspect in any way. Make it different and more dramatic and more interesting to experience. So that's good architecture.
Yeah. So how does
So
good design do that?
If you've done the design good, it is always going to impact people in a good way only. People may not realize it. See, we as architects think a lot, okay?
Yeah.
You as a product designer think a lot, like how is this going to be, how is it going to be? The normal person does not realize all this. But it's for the normal person, it's just that you come in and you feel good. You don't know that it's the architecture that's making you feel good. It's the light that's making you feel good. Is it the natural ventilation that's making you feel good? You feel good, that's it. So,
Yeah.
and if you've achieved that, then that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the thing about experience design. When you're very user centric, you're really trying to facilitate, guide the user in a certain way. And if that's done really well, they don't even realize it. They're just kind of grateful that this experience exists. And that you're right, and that's with light. On the scale of some of the projects that you do, you're dealing with so many of the natural elements, I guess, that you kind of have to orchestrate nature in a way as well. Wow, it's a interesting profession. Which architect or business leader, past or present, has had the most significant influence on your perspective of design and architecture, and why? So who's really inspired you? And I know that book you said, obviously the book that you read that really made you want to be an architect.
Yes.
I suppose that's big. It's being a big guiding force, isn't it? Really.
That definitely was. So there is architecture that has impacted you a lot.
Yeah.
So I went to Montenegro, and I went to this the Aman hotel there, which is the Sveti Stefan Island.
Okay.
And a car can't reach there. You have to walk by a little pathway that leads you to an island, which is like literally in the middle of the water, in the sea.
Wow.
And I said, what a hotel. I mean, it's just stunning because every room is different. Then I asked, like, how is this possible? Like, so you know what it is? It was a 600-year-old village that was converted to a hotel. And these guys kept the architecture intact. They only improved it.
Wow.
And of course, they did the interior all over again. But the stunning thing is that no room is the same. There's one restaurant that sits on one part of a hill somewhere. The pool is on the other side of the hill looking at another part of the ocean. And you can actually take, most hotels, there's one route you'll take from your room to the restaurant, right? Normally.
Yeah. Normally.
Here, there were 6 different routes you could
Anyway.
take.
Wow.
So like, you say, okay, let's go from here today. Okay, let's take this slightly steeper route today. And it was such an amazing experience. It just changed my whole perspective of things, you know.
That's incredible.
That's when you realize that organic design is so much more better to experience than a structured formal design.
Yeah, yeah. That formality, I guess, makes you behave in a certain way. But if there's something that's more organic, like you say, you feel a greater connection to that,
Yeah.
I guess. And which architects have inspired you throughout your career? I know you like Franco Gehry. I remember us speaking about that in the
Yes,
past.
so
Yeah.
some buildings of Franco Gehry,
Yeah.
like the Bilbao Museum for sure,
Yeah.
was like made a huge impact. There was this building in Hanover by Benish and Benish,
Yeah.
which had these cantilevered floors, like literally swinging out.
Yeah.
I never imagined an office building could be like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, what a radical way of thinking. There was this theater in Dresden done by Coop Himmelblau, Wolf Pricks. I mean, he'd taken abstraction to another level altogether.
Yeah.
Then there's the Austrian architect, very old, Gunther Dominic.
Gunter Dominic. Okay.
I mean, some amazing, abstract, mind-blowing architecture. So there's a lot of architecture. There are a couple of buildings by Charles Correa in India, which, again, I mean, unique.
Yeah.
The way they are experienced, the way they are seen, the way spaces are, the way light comes in, a completely different interpretation of how one can make a building for a tropical climate.
The last question, love it or hate it, what's the current design macro trend in architecture or interior design that you can't stop thinking about? And what do you think it says about the broader cultural context or cultural landscape?
I don't really know if there is a macro trend because there are just so many different things happening simultaneously. There's beautiful fluid architecture happening. There's beautiful organic architecture happening. There's just so many different chains of thought or lines of thought that are happening, and they're all good. If done correctly, they're all good. So
Yeah.
I don't see any one macro trend,
Yeah.
but I see very interesting design languages happening across the world.
Yeah.
Very interesting, very unique. It's a good time.
Yeah, I think having walked around this week here, you still it's always really exciting and inspiring to see that not everybody's they're not trying to do exactly the same thing and replicate. You do see some really interesting projects happening.
There's a lot of experimentation happening,
There really
and
is
that's
actually,
good.
yeah. One of our LIXIL values, we call them behaviors, is experiment and learn that we have in our organization, and it's something that particularly in the design team that we take that to the extent where we practice that experiment and learn. We're constantly trying to experiment, learn, bring things together, see how things work, constantly pushing ourselves, trying new materials, collaborations, things like those, just to see sometimes what works, and sometimes you don't know. You have to try, you have to experiment. So it's really exciting. Sanjay, look, thank you. I know how busy you are. Like I said, you've judged this week. You're always, I see you all different events. You're doing your own, of course, which is really nice to hear as well, that you've set up like these kind of masterclasses. So we'll make sure that we get access to those, and we'll put that on our feed. Because I think that's a real noble thing to do. I mean, this concept of design community is incredibly important to us. The feedback we're getting from our listeners and viewers so far about the podcast is it's really insightful, it's inspiring. That only works if people like yourself give up their time, and so we really appreciate that, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of your stories and experiences. So and we're going to make sure we tell everybody else, hard work. I mean, when I think of you, I just think of probably the hardest working architect in the industry. Wow.
I think every
7
architect
days a week. 7 days a week.
Every architect has to work hard. You don't get anywhere in architecture without working hard.
True, that's true. That's true. But thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Facets of Design from LIXIL Global Design. Please be sure to subscribe, share and follow us on Instagram at LIXIL Global Design. Stay tuned for more insightful conversations with innovators shaping the future of the creative industries.